Okay, Gene, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We now have John Wilhelm, Dan Hiller, Bill Whitcomb, and Gene Stoffel. We do not have Thomas Duden.
Okay. I have 7:30, so we have a quorum. I will call the meeting to order. First item, I would like everybody to say the pledge. To the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item is the resolution establishing the ability to conduct open meeting by telephone. Mr. Dahl, would you give us the basics?
Okay, hold on one second here. Let me get the...
I believe we all thought.
Okay. Yeah, this is the, this just permits meetings to be held by teleconference when it's either impossible or just a bad idea to do it otherwise. And under the circumstances, those are our options.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to move the resolution establishing the ability to conduct open meeting.
This is Bill Whitcomb. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution establishing the authority to conduct open meetings by teleconference.
I'll second that.
Thomas Duden,
Mr. Hiller?
Or Hiller, Dan Hiller, second.
No, that was not me.
John Wilhelm.
John, okay. Okay, Mr. Wilhelm seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. I will call a roll call vote. Is alphabetical okay, or is anybody opposed to that?
That's fine. Bill Whitcomb, I'm fine with that.
Okay, we'll go with Mr. Hiller first.
Aye.
Mr. Hiller votes aye. Mr. Stokel votes aye. Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
And Mr. Wilhelm?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Gene Thomas Duden is here now.
Oh, Mr. Duden.
I'm on to.
Yeah, you weren't there when at the beginning, okay, Mr. Duden, sorry.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried unanimously. Next, we will do the roll call unless somebody objects to it, or if we rotate or whatever, but otherwise I will do roll call by alphabetical. When you're going to say something, please state your name, and then I will acknowledge, and we'll move on from there. Next item is the resolution establishing township officer compensation and reimbursement. It's something that we have never done, and when our members went to a legal conference, they found out that that's something we should always be doing. We have the resolution in front of us. Is there a motion to accept?
Go into detail what it is, Gene.
Well,
it's
basically it's just saying that the town board or the township has the right to compensate for meetings, expenses, and detailed claims. Does not have a right to reimburse for frills and trills, basically.
It's not including services done. Like if I took a skid loader out and start pulling trees, it does not include that, correct?
No, it does not. Unless you were specifically hired to do it. And right now,
That's just some clarification. That's what it was just.
yeah, it's limited. There's it's like 2.5 pages. It's something we should always have been doing. We never have until some members went to legal counsel and found out that it's illegal to have been paid any time in the past without a resolution that a compensation for officers, including town board, planning commission, and employees. Is there a motion to that effect?
This is Bill Whitcomb. I'd like to adopt the resolution establishing a policy for the compensation and reimbursement of town officers.
Motion has been made to adopt a resolution, establish policy for compensation and reimbursement of town officers. Is there a second?
Thomas Duden, I'd second that motion.
Mr. Duden has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor? Mr. Duden. For again. Aye or no? Nay. Mr. Duden is aye. Mr. Hiller is aye. Mr. Stokel is aye. Mr. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Wilhelm.
Aye.
Motion is carried. We will.
Miss Jean, this is Dan Hiller.
Yes.
Can you just slow down just a little bit, because you recorded me as an I and I never actually spoke, so I am still an I.
I thought I got a second I. I'm sorry, Mr.
No, that's totally fine. Just slower down just a skosh.
This conference will now be recorded.
Mr. Hiller?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, motion is carried. We will accept a resolution establishing a policy for the compensation and reimbursement of town officers. Next item of business is a resolution to acknowledge MPCA's subsoil septic treatment or sewage treatment systems. We got a letter from Aaron Patrick at the environmental specialist from MPCA, and they say that we would have to write a very formal septic system approval or turn it over to the county, which is what we basically have done in the past anyway. It's open for discussion.
I have a question, Gene. This is Bill Whitcomb. So
Yes.
we just heard about this last month. Am I correct in understanding that we have not been compliant on our septic system for over a decade? Did you hear that?
Yes. In response, I would say we have never formally recorded any information that we are taking responsibility for. We have been charging for it, and I talked to Todd Geske, and he said basically nothing's going to change except we have to get the formal approval from the county for a septic system, and we should never have been charging for them. That's been kind of a questionable procedure.
This is Bill Whitcomb again. So you're saying, so we have been charging for all those years and we shouldn't have been charging?
Well, part of what we charge has been going back to the inspections. So basically it hasn't been the county is going to charge for it too. We're kind of double billing a little bit. We should never have been, according to Okay, his name is Aaron Patrick. According to what he wrote to us, we should never have been charging for septic approvals.
So, we've had 3 or 4 septics put in just this last year. How did that all happen? Do we know?
Hey.
We have to look at.
Well, apparently if I may finish, apparently the MPCA has just kind of reviewed this because Mr. Geske told me that there are like 3 townships or 4 townships in Hennepin and Wright County that are going through the same procedure. So apparently the MPCA just kind of caught on to it and looked into it.
Those were the only questions I had. This was Bill Whitcomb. Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to accept the resolution to acknowledge their determination, or we can have some other questioning.
I guess this is Dan Hiller. I've got a question. What all is entailed to continue for the township to continue issuing these permits? Is it an act of God? And how much money, how much income is the township actually getting off of issuing permits for septics?
According to Mr. Geske, basically not. Whatever we've been collecting has kind of gone right back into inspections, and we shouldn't have been handling any money for the inspections. It should have gone directly to the county.
This is Bill Whitcomb. One other thing, I did talk to Mille Lacs County, and it sounded as though the county actually gets paid to do it, like $19,000 annually to, I don't know if it's enforce the ordinance or what it is, but the township doesn't get any money for this. So it sounds like it's just a lot of extra legwork for the township. It is cheaper. He said for the whoever's asking for a permit, it's $100 cheaper to go through the county than what we were charging. So,
Come, John Wilhelm here.
Yes.
I heard that the county was losing money at $19,000 and they upped it to $22,000. I don't know if that's.
Okay, basically this is Gene again. Basically, we have just been taking money as part of the building permits and then pass it on anyway. So, which really we shouldn't have even been handling the money, according to the letter that we got from the MPCA.
Okay.
Is there any further questions, discussion? A motion to acknowledge their determination and turn it over. This in no way would change anything that we have, our other zoning requirements and ordinances and so on. This is strictly with the sewage systems. Is there any further discussion?
This is Dan Hiller. I'd make the motion to adopt the MPCA's resolution.
Is there a second to that motion?
Bill Whitcomb seconds it.
Mr. Whitcomb seconds the motion. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. Mr. Duden?
Aye.
Votes aye. Mr. Hiller?
Aye.
Mr. Stokel votes aye. Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mr. Wilhelm?
Aye.
Motion is carried. We will acknowledge MPCA's subsurface sewage treatment systems termination. Next item of business is we should have a motion to approve the joint powers agreement. The city has signed off on it. I have it in my hands right now.
Yeah, this is Bill Whitcomb. Are we going to have any discussion, or are we just going right through with approving of it?
It's up to you.
I'm ready to make a motion to approve the joint powers agreement with the city.
I got a question quick, John Wilhelm. Is the school board on board with this, as far as the dead end with the cul-de-sac? Or proposed cul-de-sac?
As of right now, maybe Mr. Whitcomb, would you respond to that?
We're still in discussion with the school board on that. It doesn't affect the cost of the project or the contract. It's something we can add or remove. Is that correct, Todd?
That's correct.
This is Dan Hiller. I have a question on that also. Has the city been given ample time to get bids and have all their ducks in a row for as far as putting pipe in the ground for city water and sewer for future expansion? Because from what I'm being told that they have not. So if we pave this road, if they in the next 5 to 8 years decide to extend city water and sewer out there, they're going to be tearing up a brand new road. Right from the Public Works Director.
This is Bill Whitcomb. Yeah, that was part of the discussion, but at least from what I gathered from the discussions with the city was that, to speculate on when that's going to happen, whether it's going to be 5 years, 8 years, or 15 years. They talked about possibly putting in any utilities outside the road bed. So they didn't want to hold up the project for potential that might not happen for 15 years. They wouldn't have signed off on the agreement if they hadn't discussed these things. But yeah, that was an issue that was brought up probably a month ago.
John Wilhelm here. Is it cheaper
We have not.
if we, because of this COVID-19?
We have not got a second to the motion. Who's talking?
John Wilhelm.
Okay, John, go ahead.
I'm wondering if it would be cheaper to get another estimate because of the oil and stuff going down.
We've already contracted the first two portions.
If you do it right now, you're going to be, the guys are already booking their projects for the year, and what you're going to end up doing is what we've had in the past. You're going to end up having higher contract rates, but you're going to have cheaper oil. So in the long run, you're probably going to shoot yourself in the foot.
I assume that was Mr. Duden.
That was.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I would second the motion.
That's Mr. Duden?
Mr. Duden.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
This is Dan Hiller. I have a comment to make. I mean, we're going to be spending an awful lot of money on this road, repairing this road. We got an awful lot of busted up tar road in this township. When are we going to have the funds to be fixing that? At least with the gravel road, if it gets bumpy or a pothole, we can straighten that out. These tar roads that are busted up and heaved up, there's no fixing that right now. I live on 50th Avenue. We've been hearing this for over 10 years that the township's going to fix our road and nothing's been done to it. How many of these other towns, I hate gravel roads, guys. I don't like them any more than you guys do, but I question whether we should be spending the money doing this right now.
The road project, or the road plan that we approved last meeting, we budgeted for somewhat more than this project is going to cost us. We also looking forward. We're looking at improving 50th next year. We still have enough money in our budget to take care of a lot of the graveling and so on, which is a separate item. Our budget this year for 2020 reflected the completion of this project. 2021, we're talking 50th Avenue, and then some crack seal and so on.
I got another comment. You know, since we're in that area, 33rd extends across for the road that goes down to Bethel Church. That needs at a minimum of crack sealing this year. I'd like to see that get done around the same time we're working on 82nd and 33rd, since we're in the area anyway.
Well, Don? Okay. I believe we have some crack sealing plans for that. I'm not sure. Mr. Whitcomb, can you respond to that?
Yes. Have you had a chance to look at the proposed road plan for 20 and 21, John?
I have not.
Okay. Maybe take some time and take a look at that. A lot of the information that I pulled together was information that was received from Todd McLeod back in 2014, and I just built off of that. And the roads that we're focusing on first for crack sealing and crack filling and chip sealing are the roads that are, kind of in the worst situation. They're the older ones up by Denhigh Estates area. So I've got kind of a whole plan set forth out there that people have already had a chance to review. And, if we're in the area of 33rd, that's a totally separate contract. That's just a chip sealing, crack filling. This contract here at 33rd and 82nd it's a totally different contractor. So we wouldn't really gain any benefit by combining that work. But 33rd is definitely on the list of an area that we need to look at. I mean, if you've been to any of the meetings over the past year, I've spelled it out pretty clearly as to all of our roads have been neglected for well over 10 years. And we definitely need to make the road a priority. So that's the direction we're heading, but we've got to have a plan. We got to stick to the plan. We can't be jumping all over, and unless we have a major blow up where something happens, we got to stick to that. That's all I had.
Is there any further discussion on agreeing to the joint powers agreement?
Mr. Chairman.
The city signed off on it. They are in complete agreement. We've gone back and forth to the MAT and our lawyers. Don McLeod, I believe everybody's on board, saying that this is an equitable agreement and we should move forward. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Doug.
Yes, Doug.
I'm sorry. Can you tell me who made the original motion?
Bill Whitcomb made the original motion and Thomas Duden seconded.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the joint powers agreement, Mr. Duden? Aye or nay? Mr. Duden? Did I lose him? Mr. Hiller?
No.
No. I vote yes.
Thomas Duden was a yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, now I do. I lost you for a moment. Mr. Whitcomb?
Yes, aye.
And Mr. Wilhelm?
No.
Okay, the motion is carries by a 3-2 vote. Next item is a resolution to accept Knife River's bid to pave 33rd and 82nd Avenue and sign a proposed contract. This, resolution 2020-06.
This is Bill Whitcomb. I'd like to make a motion to approve by resolution the road improvement project on 33rd Street west of 82nd Avenue to County Road. I'm sorry, the east portion, east leg and the south leg, conditioned on the full approval and execution of the joint powers agreement with both the city and the township.
Motion has been made to resolve the township accepts the bid of $82,000 for Schedule B and $68,000 for Schedule C. Is there a second to that motion?
Thomas Duden, I would second it.
Motion's been made and second. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. Mr. Duden?
Aye.
Aye or nay?
Aye.
Mr. Hiller?
Nay.
I vote yes. Ms. Stokel, Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
And Mr. Wilhelm?
Nay.
And again, motion carries by a 3-2 vote. We will accept Knife River's bid and sign the proposed contract. Next item on the agenda is Silver Lake Folk.
Gene?
This is yes, who is this?
This is Bill Whitcomb. There was one other thing with discussion with the attorney. We need to have a motion approved, and that is what we just approved was a resolution to execute the joint powers agreement and the contract. But he said we need to do another one. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the final construction contract for the full project, condition again on the full approval of the execution of the joint powers agreement with the city and the township. And that can just be it's just a motion. It's not a resolution.
Okay. Motion has been made to execute or to accept the project based execution of the JPA. Is there a second?
So
Is there a second to this?
let's start over. What is this about?
This is Bill Whitcomb. In discussing this with the attorney, since the first two legs of the project were accepted by resolution, he thought it's just a good idea to have another resolution accepting the other two legs. And then this last motion is just to approve the final contract, which, yeah. So the resolution was just to follow through with what we did on the first two legs. This is just to kind of keep it consistent. And then this last motion was to approve the final contract. So I'll make the motion again. I'd make a motion to approve the final construction contract for the full project, conditioned on the full approval of the execution of the joint powers agreement by both the city and the township. And that's just a motion.
Is there a second to that motion? Who was that?
Thomas Duden, I would second the motion.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the final construction condition again on full agreement approval and execution of the joint powers agreement by both the city and township. Is there any further discussion? If there is no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. Mr. Duden.
Aye.
Mr. Hiller?
Nay.
I will vote yes. Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
And Mr. Wilhelm?
Nay.
By 3-2 vote, motion is carried. We will approve the final construction contract, conditioned again on full approval and execution of the joint powers agreement by the city and township. Next item of business, Silver Lakes Oaks preliminary plat.
Mr. Chair, this is Scott Richards. Would you like me to give some opening remarks?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jesse John Bell has made application for the Silver Lake Oaks preliminary plat. Reminder, this is a preliminary plat for a 21-lot subdivision on the southeast side of Silver Lake. It's on County Road 117, Aspen Road. It's on 75 acres, and I said 21 lots. Some of the lots will directly access Aspen Road, and others will access a newly created road through the subdivision that's referred to as 16th Street and 68th Avenue. The property is guided in the comp plan for rural residential and meets on the rural district. The Plan Commission has made a recommendation of approval of this preliminary plat. They did that on March 2nd of this year. The Town Board has reviewed this briefly as part of a sketch plan in December, but again, with the delays in meetings and so forth, we're now dealing with this. One item that I need to make note of, the 120-day application required or development review application ends on April 19th. As per Minnesota statutes 1599, meaning which you have to act either favorably or unfavorably this evening, or else on April 19th, the preliminary plat will automatically be approved. Now, as you're aware, I believe, Doug, you're aware of a letter from the Environmental Quality Board, the EQB, today. There was a petition that was received from residents that has asked for consideration of the EAW. It's my understanding that the township would make that determination, has 30 days to do so. And again, I remind you that this is just in the preliminary plat aspect of the project and not the final plat. The applicant has to go back and make application for a final plat if he receives preliminary plat approval. This issue can be dealt with during the time period before a final plat is approved. My understanding, and Todd, well, correct me if I'm wrong, again, the township makes this determination, and there's criteria that we have to go through to make that determination if an EAW is required. Again, that's a 30-day requirement. So I'll let you comment on that probably after the fact. That again was recommended by the plan that all the criteria of the rural residential, all the lot sizes, the lot widths, access on Silver Lake, or at least the area that's required, the width on Silver Lake. The easements, as required, have all been indicated on the final plat. A park dedication would have to be paid of $1,200 per lot. I talked a bit about access. The county has reviewed this and has some comments related to access to the county road on 117, but I believe there's no issues with that from the county standpoint. In terms of wetlands, we did address that. Craig Lensman, the engineer for this project, or Wilbur Peterson, the engineer, said in the letter that they worked with things, and those issues have been some wetland mitigation issues as part of the roadway. Again, that will occur during this process. Does not have to be done before we approve a preliminary plat. The criteria for review of the subdivision has been reviewed, and I had submitted to you a good receiving in your packet, a March 16th memo to Doug Dahl
with the conditions that we recommend to favorably approve this preliminary plat. So, Todd, did you have any further comments that you'd like to make at all, or?
I do not. I don't have any outstanding issues with the preliminary plat.
Yeah, Todd, this is Scott Richards. Todd McLeod has submitted correspondence that 2 times that has indicated that they have reviewed the preliminary plat. The development engineer made some changes to it, and I believe it meets all of the engineering criteria.
That's correct.
Okay, back to us. I believe questions, comments, or motion one way or the other we have to accept or deny tonight.
Bill, this is Dan Hiller. Didn't we have the attorney look at this petition that was sent in, and doesn't meet the criteria? So now, if I'm reading this right, they're kind of pushing it off on the township whether to decide if they're going to make an exception or not. If you look at one of their deals there, I mean, the township can make an exception. I mean, I'm reading it says you got to have 50 or more unattached units for this, environmental assessment to be brought forward, and we're not at that. So where are we at on this, or do we have to have the attorney look at this?
Yeah, this is Bill Whitcomb. You're correct, Dan. The threshold, it sounds as though, we'll definitely, we're gonna have to have the attorney look at it, but it's not necessarily going to slow down the approval process for the preliminary plat, because this says that no final governmental approvals can be given. So we've got, I think Scott Richards mentioned, we've got 30 days. We can have the developer do an environmental assessment worksheet. And yeah, it was 50 units, I believe, that it required. And there's 21, so we haven't even met that halfway yet. So again, tonight we were just approving the preliminary plat. It's not the final plat. So I think from what the letter that we got from Bogart Pedersen by Matt Lessie, some of the stuff they're having to hold off on until, and what after talking with Dylan Hayes too, is they haven't been able to finish their work because they haven't got the preliminary plat approved. And if that's incorrect, Mr. Richards or Todd are incorrect, maybe straighten us out on that one, if you could, please.
This is Scott Richards. Yes, that's correct. In order for the process to proceed further, addressing wetlands and so forth, the township needs to approve the preliminary plat.
Correct. Okay.
Hello, this is Jesse John Dawson. I just had a quick question. With the EAW that we were going to do on there, after the pre-approval that you go ahead, you guys didn't need it. Now all of a sudden say you put these signatures, and now you ought to like yeah. Not because of the signatures, or was that going to happen regardless?
Jesse, this is Bill Whitcomb. So we just received this letter from the Environmental Quality Board today. I don't know that after the attorney reviews it, we'll make a determination and get here with the other board members, see what their thoughts are on this. We may not even need an environmental assessment worksheet on this.
Sure. I understand, Bill. Thank you for that. What I want to point out is we just at the same time as you guys did about an hour ago. Line number 32, Gary Christensen, that's our Smith guy. We just reached out to him, and he doesn't know nothing of this letter, and he did not sign that. So I just want to put that out there. Like I said, we got an hour bill with 110 signatures on there. If I can find one that quickly, I guarantee I'll find that. So I just want that to be on the reviewing things over. I believe think Jeffrey got 25, he had 25 signatures. In 7 days, he got another 85. Kind of fell from the sky. And I get it, just like
If I might check,
in the
if I
past,
might check, if I'm,
100%
if I might,
rule and regulation that you guys have. And we've been working on this since December. So our pushbacks, I think, have been way overdue. I mean, obviously, we all can agree on that.
if I might chime in, please. This is Ron Gessler, and I'm representing all of the residents around the bottom here on the south side of Silver Lake. I am the one that collected all the signatures, and every single one of them that signed that petition signed it right in front of me, personally.
So do you know Gary Sorensen?
Right. I know everybody that signed that petition signed it in front of me. I witnessed every signature. So have at it.
Okay, Ron, that's excellent. Glad to hear that. Gary Christensen does our flat work and concrete work. So we just spoke to him.
I signed in front. I had a concrete guy sign that thing. So whoever it was is denying it. I don't know. But I saw the people right down here on Alpine Road. So that's where it's at. I swear to it, and that's where it is.
Well, there we have it.
I collected them. I collected every one of them.
We have an issue with the preliminary plat. I would like to hear some of our board members. Where are we at?
This is Dan Hiller. I do have a concern on a couple of the lots in here. I don't know if this is the time to bring it up or not. I'm still learning some of this as I go, so I apologize if this is not the time to bring it up. Down on County Road 117, lots 1 and 2 that get access to that, are those going to be sharing a driveway where the first 50 foot of the driveway or 60 foot of the driveway is going to be shared?
This is Scott Richards. Lots 2 and 3 will be sharing a driveway.
It's lots 2 and 3, okay. And then the other question I've got, on the east side of the property, we got 2 really long, skinny lots there. I don't know, is it wise to be doing 150 foot wide lots in a rural development? Those are the only 2 questions I have on this plat.
Dan, this is Scott Richards again. Those lots were revised. The sketch plan showed 150 foot lots. The preliminary plat shows 200 foot lots. That is a question that the Planning Commission reviewed. There was a number of lots. Those 2 were of discussion, and some of the lots on Silver Lake, like lot 3 and 4 of block 1, as far as their width. Unfortunately, our subdivision ordinance allows for such lots on a curve as little as a minimum 66 feet wide. So again, we had the developers make 10 and 11 wider. So they do show a reasonable building sites. But again, I don't think it's ideal. And the Planning Commission and I are going to start talking about making some changes to the ordinance. But for now, this is far enough along the path. I think we may have to deal with it and then address it down the road.
I mean, I'd like to see those 2 skinny lots combined. I mean, I know they're losing a lot, but, then it's a 5 acre lot, but then we don't have the really skinny lots right there. And the 3 lots that are getting access to 117, instead of doing a shared driveway, if we split those in there 2 3 3/4 acre lots, and we're not doing a shared driveway. So, I mean, that's my suggestion. That's what I look at. I don't think shared driveways are I know the county sounds like they're fine with it, but I just don't know that that's the greatest thing to be doing because neighbors don't always get along.
Yeah, the way they design that is that the driveways come together at the lot line. So you you could access the right of way on your own property. Again, I agree, it's not the best situation, but it is something that the county, at least they would approve.
And again, this is Jesse John. And again, everything that we've done is in your guidelines and your boundaries that we have followed to be correct, Scott Richards.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that I can see to this point. It meets all the subdivision criteria.
So you're looking for a motion to approve the preliminary plat, Gene? Is that correct?
Looking for a motion to approve or deny, yes.
I'd make the motion to approve it. Dan Hiller.
Dan Hiller, Scott Richards, there's a March 16th memo with the list of conditions. So as part of your motion, would you make that recommendation or that approval with those 13 conditions, please?
I guess I don't have those ones. Where did I?
They should have been in the packet.
This is Bill Whitcomb. What are we looking for?
It's the March 16th memo to Doug Dahl. Should have been part of the packet that you received. Back probably for the previous meeting, but I believe Doug had sent out this again with the copy of the preliminary plat.
Was it the Bogart Pedersen one?
No, it's the planning report from TPC.
Yeah, I've got it in my hand. What are you looking? You're wanting these recommendations also added in that motion?
Yeah, those 13 conditions, correct. And these are the conditions that the planning commission had acted on. So
I'd agree to that.
Okay, motion has been made to accept the preliminary plat with the conditions that were prescribed in TPC's Planning Commission's findings. Is there a second to that motion?
This is Bill Whitcomb. I'd second that motion.
Mr. Whitcomb seconds the motion. Is there any further discussion?
So this is Dan Hiller. Just to be clear, this is approving the preliminary plat, and then everything else with the, sorry, I'm trying to look at the Environmental Quality Board. That's still got to get resolved. So you still, the people that have signed the petition are still going to have their day. We're just moving forward with the preliminary plat to keep the ball rolling, and this other issu's got to get addressed, correct?
this is Scott Richards. Yes, that's correct, Dan.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? This is Gene. I can voice a little opinion. I think that according to our ordinances, we're kind of stepping over the line a little bit to approve it. We are not providing orderly economic safe development of land. We're not promoting public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. We're not protecting, especially the public health, the water supply, the drainage, and we're not securing the rights of the public with respect to public lands and water. I hate to go forward and approve the preliminary and then have more money put into it and have it rejected in the final, because I don't see enough safeguards against contamination of water systems and so on.
Gene, John Willem, I'm with you 100%.
Anything else, John?
Well, I just want to make a note too. You know, you got 21 home subdivision at an estimated like $250K price. It doesn't cover the cost of our police and fire and road maintenance as well. So where do we pick up the extra cost? From local taxpayers, and I don't think that's fair or right either for the existing people in the area.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, Scott Richards, just a reminder that if you don't act on the preliminary plat tonight or before April 19th, it will be approved as per statute.
Scott Richards, just
Right
to
now
make
we
sure
have a
that
motion to accept
we are
the
100%.
preliminary plat with the conditions that are outlined in the TPC's recommendations. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, or excuse me, Mr. Duden.
Nay.
Mr. Duden there? Did I lose somebody? Mr.
Thomas
Miller.
Newton here.
Okay, Tom, Mr. Duden.
I had one comment. I know we're voting on it. For some reason, I was cut off. I'm driving. John, where are you coming up with these are only $250,000 homes? The lots themselves are going to be more than that, or probably a little more than that.
I got right in front of me. It should have been in your packet.
Okay? So what is a break even on a house if it's not going to pay for police and fire? What's that number?
They don't.
What's the number?
What do we get on average for a house that's 250,000 to 300,000?
$460.
Yeah.
Just looked at my tax statement.
So where's all this extra money coming in to pay for it? To help pay for the maintenance, the police, the fire. You can't just pull money out of thin air.
Well, the police gets paid through your county taxes because that's, Mille Lacs County, not city of Princeton. Fire goes off of tax capacity. And the road maintenance, I mean, you're going to have a short road that's going to be brand new for the first 8 years. You're going to have minimal expense maintaining that. The main roads that are going to serve that road going to Highway 95 are county roads, which aren't our jurisdiction, so we don't have to spend any money fixing them. So I guess I'm looking at where are you saying we're going to lose money on this one? I mean, I don't agree with that.
And just to be clear, this is Jesse Jodell. It's Silver Lake Pines. We have lots in there. We have a pre-sold in there that we have that's $490,000. There's a lot in Silver Lake Oaks that we're speaking of right now that is $100,000. So we're going to be putting homes in there. What the 250 is that? I mean, that's just we can't do that. That's not going to happen. You can't build a house for
No, you can't. You can't. Yeah, you can't hardly build a house for 200,000.
Right. So we need well and septic. We need, by the time we get everything in there, we're probably going to be in all of the 300s up to the 500s is where that price range is going to end up in.
Yeah. All right, the motion has been called. Going for a roll call. Mr. Duden. For again. Mr. Duden votes aye. Mr. Hiller?
Aye.
I will vote no. Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
And Mr. Willow?
Nay.
Motion is carried. We will approve the preliminary plat for Silver Lake Oaks. Who said something? Okay, any further? Next item of business is the Gave Addition final plat. I think we've been through this. It looks good. Mr. Richard?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will just go through a quick review. The town board last saw this in December as part of a variance that was done in advance of the preliminary plat, and you approved that. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on December 2nd, 2019, and the town board approved it December 17th. So this is a simple plat. It's a little bit different than what we're dealing with Silver Lake Oaks. It's in the R1 district, and there's a different process. So it allows for the preliminary and final plats to be combined into one process. So that's what you're doing tonight. And this is at 8394 33rd Street. The applicants propose to split the lot, sell their current house, and build a house on the newly created lot. So they have enough area to create 2 separate lots. The issue is that Mr. Dave does not want to give up his garage. So where the line appears for the plat allows for that 1.25 acre lot with the existing house, and then his outbuilding will then go with the new lot with the newly constructed house. Again, with that variance that was previously approved, everything meets the requirements. The subdivision meets all the setbacks, all the lot size, and so forth. Park dedication will be required. That would be $1,200 for that. Access will be from 33rd Street. All the right away has been would be dedicated as part of this addition. There's adequate space for the septic system and for the houses to meet all setbacks, as I indicated. The township engineer, Mr. Galt, had no comments about the grading and drainage. Again, these just all the will. Some of it is just another new house construction. So the planning commission recommended approval. Our staff recommends approval. And again, there's conditions for the preliminary and final plat, and that was also a March 16th TPC planning report to Doug Dahl.
Any further questions for Mr. Richards? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the final plat for the Gabe addition.
Thomas Duden, I would approve. I would move the motion.
John Wilhelm, I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the final plat for the Gabe addition. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll vote. Mr. Duden.
Aye.
Mr. Hiller.
Aye.
I vote yeah, aye. Mr. Whitcomb.
Aye.
And Mr. Wilhelm.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Next item of business is a proposal for sign reflectivity testing. Mr. Wilhelm, would you?
So John Roxbury has, I don't want to word. He would like to conduct the testing. He knows how to do it and the regulations behind it. It would be a huge money saver. That money we can use for road repair. If he wants to, he's all for giving up his time to test these signs, and I'd like to make a motion to allow John Roxbury to do so.
Mr. Chair, I'd like discussion.
Okay, motion is Mr. Duden.
I would like to
Mr.
strike
Duden.
down the motion. I would like to strike down the motion that's on the table. 1 year ago, we removed John Roxbury from the Township Planning Commission due to his actions and tempers against established Township Board members and Planning Commission members. I would also like to state that the total bill for all of the signs is only about approximately $6,000. If you drive down, I just did this last week, there are numerous signs. Go out, drive around an hour from now, and go look around the signs. I drove it around in my pickup. There are half the signs you cannot see. There's one out by Shooters that you can't even read it in the daylight, let alone at night. go back by Federated, by the country store, you can't see it. John, out behind your farm on that dead end road, when you come around the curve, you can't make out the sign until you get real close. I took some pictures of them. Our signs are in absolute poor condition. And I would
This
move.
doesn't mean that no signs are going to be replaced. It's just allowing for the signs that are good to stay.
But if we're going through and we're picking and choosing which signs to replace, it makes no sense. Do them all at once and be done with it. It makes no sense to fix the bad one right now and then just string it out over several years and increase your labor costs. Yeah, your material costs are cheaper on the front end, but your labor cost is going to be higher on the back side.
Is it,
You're doing ones and twos.
This is Bill Whitcomb. Could I add to this also? We were given a memorandum by Todd McLeod back on May of 19, where he held out in some training that he had, and there's been lots of discussion with the state on this issue. A lot of the testing that's being done, I spoke with Mr. MR Science, and that's where I got the estimate from at 6,000. The testing is done actually by 3M, the people who generate the signs, so they've got a really good handle on how long these signs last, and they're saying 10, 15 years max. And, the other thing is I went through all of the sign inventory, and according to this letter, this memo from Todd, there's many signs in our township. I like I said, I went through the whole map, and we may be able to eliminate about a third of our signs, which would bring our cost for our sign replacements down to $4,000. So if we're talking about replacing all of our signs over 15 years, that's less than $400 a year that we'd have to set aside. I'm not saying that we shouldn't review, some of the problem signs intermittently, but I mean, that's something as the board that we should be doing. It's not just looking at the signs. We have to have a calibration sign kit. We have to have a retro-reflecto meter. So as Mr. Duden had stated, the time and effort and messing around that we're going to need to do to keep inventory on all these things really doesn't pay. I would think that we should be adopting some sort of sign replacement policy, which I have written up, but we can deal with that at another time, because our 15 years isn't up for about another 3 years on our current signs. But we do have at least maybe 6 to 10 that need replacement now. That's all I have.
This is Gene. We have $1,000 in our budget for 2020 and 2021 for sign replacement and
right
upkeep. I believe that would take care of somewhere from in those 2 years from a third to a half of our signs. So,
and
I guess just for a point of information.
Right, and Gene, when I talked with Joseph out at Mr. MR Signs, that cost that he gave us was to replace all of them. If we did onesie, twosie here or there, the cost goes up considerably. So any savings that we're going to see in, replacing one or two or a half a dozen here or there, it's really not anything that we're going to be able to take advantage of, because we're just paying extra for the smaller quantities.
Okay. There is still a motion on the floor to hire John Roxbury to do a sign inventory or sign retro reflectivity testing. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? If not, the motion fails for lack of second. Is there any other proposal for sign reflectivity testing other than replacing the ones we know are bad and moving forward with a replacement, systematic replacement.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we allocate the $1,000 that we have budgeted for the year to replace the signs that are in absolute need of it, as well as spend the remaining money and get the remaining $1,000 worth of signs up to spec.
A motion has been made to use the $1,000 in our budget to replace the signs that absolutely need it and spend the remainder of building for total replacement. Is that basically what you wanted?
This is Bill Whitcomb. I'd like to modify, make a friendly amendment to that. I think at this point, until we know more about the signs that we have out there and potentially downsizing the inventory of signs that we need, that we remove that second half of that motion, and that we just go through and fix the signs that need to be fixed at this time, and we'll address the other things at a later date.
Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Duden?
Yes, it is.
Then the motion is to spend $1,000 on, or up to $1,000 on replacing signs that absolutely need it, and basically push the rest of the down till we could probably budget better next year for additional sign replacement. That's not part of the motion. That was just my comment, I guess. Is there any? Was that a second then, Mr. Whitcomb?
Yes, I would second that motion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to spend up to $1,000 for replacing signs that absolutely need it, and using the rest to stockpiling more signs or something to that effect. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call a roll call. Mr. Duden.
Aye.
Mr. Hiller.
Aye.
Dean Stokel votes yes. Aye. Mr. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Wilhelm.
Aye.
Motion's carried. We will spend some money to replace the signs that absolutely need it and accumulate some more signs for short-term replacement. Okay, next item on the agenda is a bid for legal services. Mr. Dahl, do you have our numbers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do have those numbers. They were included in the packet, but we got two bids. One from Curry and Rupee. Their bid was $210 per hour, and then a pass-through at $230 per hour. The other was Kennedy and Graven, and their bid was $185 per hour.
Okay, talking to people, and we are presently paying, I believe it's close to $300 an hour.
Yes.
To Mr.
Frankie
Noonan.
Yeah, Frankie Noonan. Sorry. Thank you. I have talked to people who have dealt with both Curry and Rupee, Kennedy and Graven, of course, have dealt much with Adam, and I think we could probably do okay with any of the three. Any other comments? I know Mr. Whitcomb, you went to a class with Curry and Rupi, did the legals. I've dealt with them a couple times when I called MAT, and their attorneys were not in, and they transferred me over to Curry and Rupi. Mr. Gilchrist has done some work with us in the past. From Kennedy and
Yeah, this is Bill Whitcomb. I agree with you. I've spoken with and dealt with both Corey Rupi at legal seminars, and I've also spoken with Jason Hill, Kennedy and Graven, and Mr. Gilchrist on other issues with the road. And either one of these, I'd feel comfortable with either one of these two.
Any comments from anybody else?
Yeah, this is Dan Hiller. I do have a question on it. More just looking at it here in the packet that was sent out. Kennedy and Graven actually sent us a really nice letter and everything, and the deal from Curry and Rupi kind of looks like it was written on a bar napkin. I mean, do they send in something that was nicer than this, or was that how they submitted their bid?
I
don't believe they did. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Whoever.
I'm pretty sure last year when we were kicking this around in September that they submitted a full letter like you see with Kennedy and Graven. I think this was just kind of a follow-up. So,
I just looking at it. One company did a really nice one. The other one's on a bar napkin. So I was just wondering that one.
Right.
This is Doug. Can I speak to that?
Yes.
Yeah, they just sent that in by email. So I just copied it off the email to a document.
Thomas Dudem here.
Yes, Thomas.
Question I have, we've got this forensic audit that the township wants us to go ahead and pursue. Which attorney is going to do this the better job? I'm just looking at that if something is there. Is it going to be the ones that are the Rupies who are right next door to MAT? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to...
Well, both of these, this is Bill Whitcomb, both of these companies do the MAT training, so I know Kennedy and Graven is, they're closely associated with MAT, and so is Corey Rupi. So again, I have nothing negative to say about either one. I think they both do a good job, and as it relates to dealing with the computer forensics, I guess I don't know. That was a lot of help.
Any other comment? Any other comments?
I do have one. I guess if I were to lean one direction, just looking at a lot of the things that we have to do as it relates to just township resolutions and different things that seem to be lacking. We may need to be using an attorney more than we possibly have in the past. Maybe it's better off just to go with the least expensive one at this point.
I have one question. Do either of them require any kind of commitment from us other than case by case or day by day basis?
Kennedy and Graven says we do not require the town to enter in a contract or pay a retainer. So we know that they do not.
I believe Curry and Rupi is the same, I believe.
I think so. In fact, they said we could even call them if we just have, when I was at training, if we just have a quick question for them, not necessarily a legal service, but a legal question, they're usually pretty good about that. I think you've called them too in the past, haven't you, Gene?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a time when I think there were seminars going on, so MAT was everybody was busy doing their rounds, and I had a legal question, and the receptionist turned me over to Curry and Ruby, and they were very helpful. I don't know. I guess I would like to go with the cheapest unless you think you're going to get what you pay for. But I'm going to leave it up to you people, please.
I would move the motion to go with the cheaper of the two options.
This is Bill Whitcomb. I'd second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to go with Kennedy and Graven, which would be Mr. Gilchrist. I believe we've had some good experience with them too. I don't know that I've ever spoken specifically to him, but is there any further discussion? I had more than my 2 cents worth. Is there any further discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. Mr. Duden.
Aye.
Mr. Hiller.
Aye.
Gene Stokel says aye. Mr. Whitcomb.
Aye.
And Mr. Wilhelm.
Aye.
Motion is carried. We will assist our legal services to Kennedy and Graven. Thank you. Next item is postponement of the annual cleanup day. Because we're in the stay-at-home orders, more or less. Mr. Dahl, would you chime in, please? Mr. Dahl, are you?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
Yeah, other townships have been postponing or canceling theirs. Walton was scheduled for May, and they canceled theirs. Given the restraints we're under, that was what I see going on with other townships.
I missed that. I'm sorry. I got a lot of static on my end.
Sorry. Other townships are postponing or canceling theirs. Baldwin was scheduled for May, and they have canceled theirs. So that just seemed, given the restrictions we're under, that was the impetus behind the item.
Okay. Do we wish to postpone or cancel annual cleanup day?
Given the severity of sorry, this is Dan Hiller. I'd make the motion to postpone it until the governor lifts the stay-at-home order, since we don't know when that date's going to be.
And then choose
The motion has been made to postpone until our stay-at-home order is lifted,
And then reschedule.
Then reschedule. Is there a second to that motion?
This
I would
Bill.
second that motion.
Okay.
Thomas Duden.
Okay. Thomas Duden has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion on the motion to postpone until the governor lifts the stay-at-home order and then reschedule?
I have a question on this, Dan Hiller. Are we going to change our road review? Because we were going to do road review after cleanup day, or is that a different topic?
Actually, I guess they go together. It's not technically on the list, but yeah, we kind of have to do the same thing. We have to acknowledge that we can't hardly get 6 of us in a vehicle and ride the roads. So
Gene, I'd like to. Gene, I'd like to. That's kind of a different topic.
Proceed, please.
We have our meeting next Tuesday. So maybe we should just stick to the annual cleanup day if that's okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Because we got a week.
All right, we'll delay that till next week.
Till, yeah, the 21st.
Motion has been made, seconded to postpone the annual cleanup day until the governor lifts stay-at-home order, and then we will reschedule. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? If there is no other discussion, Mr. Dudson.
Aye.
Mr. Hiller?
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Wilhelm?
Aye.
Motion has been made to postpone annual cleanup day until our stay-at-home order is lifted, and we will reschedule at that time. Before we adjourn, I just want to remind you people, so I know it's not on the agenda, so we can't say anything about it other than the Board of Appeal and Equalization is April 23rd, next Thursday. Ideally, I have to be there because I'm the only one certified. We'll try to get more people certified for next year. I'd like at least 2 more board members to be there so we have a quorum. If I can get a commitment from 2 of you. The time again, Doug?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. on
And,
next Thursday.
May I speak to that briefly? This is Doug.
Yes.
That meeting will also have to be teleconference. We'll have to work that out with the county assessor.
Okay.
In all
Like they were pushing for.
The actual format would be, there would be a qualified person at the township hall. Anyone making an appeal would come to the township hall one at a time. And that was probably the format. The assessor had suggested multiple formats, but that seemed to be the one that would make the most sense, given the restrictions that we're under. Because we can't expect people to teleconference in that. They would have to be in person, and we can't change the date because it was put on the tax form that way.
Right. So we have to be at the meeting hall.
One person has to be here. And probably what we do is I would be here, and then the qualified person, which is you, would be out of town.
Yes, and then we'd have to have one person online or something to be a quorum, I believe.
You have to have 2.
So if we can get one person to agree and
we need 2
3
more.
total. We need 3 total.
Yeah, I don't count.
we need a third.
If it would be via teleconference at 6 o'clock, I could do it. Thomas Duden.
Okay, I will.
can do it. Bill Whitcomb, I can do it.
Okay.
This is Dan Hiller. If anything happens with your guys' schedule, just let me know and I'll take your spot.
All right.
All right. Yes, sir. That sounds great. All right. We will let the county know that I will be at the town hall with Mr. Dahl, and we'll have at least 2 more people online.
Thank you.
Just so we have a little advance notice, we don't say it's bringing on Tuesday night for Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, there should be no other business, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Bill Whitcomb, I'd make the motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made to adjourn. Is there a second? I will second the motion. Is there, no, there is no discussion. All in favor of Mr. Dutton?
Aye.
Your vote. Mr. Hiller?
Aye.
Mr. Stokel votes aye. Mr. Wilhelm? Excuse me,
Aye.
Mr. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mr. Will? Okay.
Aye.
Motion is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Good. Considering how we have to do this, I thought it went very well. Thank you all very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.